Ted Lasso's third and final season has come to a close, and for someone who absolutely loves football, it was a show that I was not going to miss. Football doesn't seem to get the same coverage in mainstream film media as the likes of basketball or boxing, so this was right up my alley as it was closely tied in with real life teams and players and pundits. So I was there every day for the next episode to drop of this season, and now that it has concluded, it's time to rank all 3 seasons of Ted Lasso. Unfortunately, the third and final season was easily in last place for me. Now, I did still have a good time watching this season, but it is riddled with so many inconsistencies. This is the only season to have hour-long episodes, or close enough to hour-long. Before that, it was half-an-hour episodes, so there's a lot more opportunities to tell more stories here, and this season took that upon itself to cram in every football trope in it, and it just became a bit too much and very messy in the end, to the point where they'd even cover a certain trope and then never mention it again, even though it seemed quite vital, so it doesn't really lead to anything, or if they do focus on something, it's not discussed for a couple of episodes after, and even then doesn't really lead to anything. I appreciate that this show is very close to football and brought in some of those elements that have happened in real life sport, but at the same time, from a story point of view, it did make it quite messy, and that isn't a football pun. But besides that, even big story elements which seem vital to not just the season but the entire show just kind of get brushed past, like, spoiler alert, Nate's downfall at West Ham and his return to Richmond. They didn't even show the argument, it's just in between episodes, the start of a new episode, he's been sacked. That was just one that came to mind. Sometimes it did work for dramatic effect, but other times it just felt very weird at the same time. Jason Sudeikis, Hannah Waddingham and Brett Goldstein have always been great in the show, and they've been great in this season, but the ones who stood out this season are Nick Mohammed as Nate, Billy Harris as Colin, and Phil Dunster as Jamie, with the latter going on such a great arc throughout this show, and it's satisfying to see where he ends up this season. Yeah, so this is by far the most inconsistent season, the messiest season, and also the longest in terms of final duration, given those hour-long episodes. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, it wasn't the best writing, especially for this show's standards. Season 2 carries on from the first season's success by expanding upon plot lines and character development, as well as providing consistent, unique humour which works most of the time, while initially slowly easing into the intensity. Out of nowhere, Season 2 becomes a little bit convoluted, with plot lines which are either underdeveloped or rushed. An example being how Nate is handled at the end of the season. He saw little elements leading towards that, but out of nowhere, it just seems so rushed into that situation. Jason Sudeikis is brilliant in the role as always. You know, he's has such a charisma which creates such a positive vibe over this show, even during those more darker emotional moments. A lot more characters are given moments to shine this season, and a lot more development. There was one aspect between Rebecca and Sam which I just felt was a bit odd and I wasn't really a big fan of. It seemed like a weird direction to go, but nonetheless they went there. The season fails to commit to one singular plot entirely, constantly jumping around, and I still had a really good time with this season, but it just doesn't live up to my number 1 pick. For the record, this is a huge step up from season 3. Ted Lasso's first season was one of the biggest surprises I've had in years. When I initially saw the announcement of this project, I didn't think it was going to be great. I thought the humor wouldn't land that well. Then I started to see some really good reviews, and I went on holiday with my friends and we watched this together, and I had a great time with it. It's certainly one of the stronger first seasons in recent TV show history that I can think of, thanks to its fascinating story, great performances, and unique humor. Jason Sudeikis thrives in the role as this American football coach who knows nothing about English football, but initially seeing him despised by his players and the media, it is so enjoyable to see them slowly turn through his positivity towards liking him, and as he got to know the sport better. As I mentioned in the intro, football hasn't really been covered in the way that basketball and boxing has in the sports genre, so it was very fascinating to see that here, and not just see the basic rules, but they really go into certain aspects from inside the dressing room, the views from outside, and just tactics in general. While I am quite a die-hard football fan, there are some things which didn't really add up, small little nitpicks which didn't really make sense or wouldn't really happen in the real world, but I could look past them. But I just liked how they portrayed the pressure from having this job and how he's viewed from the public, and also just the personal view inside Ted's head. If it isn't Sudeikis providing the laughs or the emotional moments, then it is the strong side characters who are just as good here. They all instantly have great screen presence and are well written, making this show a great success.
A great success!
But yeah, that is my ranking of all 3 Ted Lasso seasons. I feel like that might be the general ranking people tend to go for. Quick spoiler for season 3, but I found it kind of funny how the way it ends with Richmond just losing out on Manchester City is very reminiscent of what happened to my club, Arsenal, in very similar fashion. It's funny, especially given that this was filmed a bit before that even happened. So just something I thought I'd point out. And yeah, please let me know what you thought of this show down below, and if you support any football team, let me know what that is as well, because as I said, I'm quite a die-hard football fan, so I'm eager to see if my viewers are the same. Anyway, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next video.